Welcome back to the Hard Angle Barn YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to pick up right where we left off in part 2, and we're going to build this engine. So it's time to put the head together to get it on the motor. So the first step is take all the old dirty valves. We're going to mount them in the drill, use a little scotch spray for just takes a couple seconds, and you get all the dirt off of the valve. Get the backside nice and clean so that it's smooth and you have a surface that you can get the valve lapping tools on and spin the valve back and forth a couple times. Make sure the valve grinding compound can do its job. Match the valve to the valve seat on the head. I got 2 brand new valves to stick in this thing. Just need a little lapping. Head work is always, maybe not always, but usually what takes the longest when you're building an engine. Three valves in, but just wanted to show, got a good looking contact patch there. Nice and even. The head matches just like that. It's not spotty. Good all the way around. Next we have brand new valve stem seals. Here's our shop cat from somewhere over the neighbors. Alright, that works. 6 freshly lapped valves with 6 fresh valve stem seals. That's the intake side. Now I got to do the exhaust. Try to get some more footage of doing that one. It was kind of hard to film by myself on this side. But what's up, my guy? What you do? You help me rebuild that dirt bike? No, you don't gotta run. I think we're gonna name him Kooky. What about that? You like the name Kooky? Look at that form. Oh. Well, it's not very eventful to time lapse, so I didn't, but the first head is all back together. Got all the new valves in it. Just need to clean up the head gasket surface, clean up and oil the valve buckets, stick them back in here, put the cams in it, then I can check the valve lash, make sure everything looks good. Alright, the valve buckets are in, cams are in as well, obviously. Everything looks pretty good. Just gotta clean up the gasket surface a little bit, and then it's almost ready to get taped up and painted. Okay, so I figured since I did 23 valves off camera, I'd film putting the keepers in the last one, as it's a little tedious. So I'm getting close here. I gotta use a stick magnet on the top keeper, on what I'm calling the top keeper. Stick it in there, pinch it with my finger, pull out the magnet, and then I'll push it in with my second finger into the groove on the valve. Alright, so there you go, that one's sitting in there. The second one, I'm going to put a little tiny dab of grease in, which I'll show you in a second. Oh, wow. Okay, or I'm going to completely fill the whole thing with grease. And then, put it on the very tip of my finger, and yes, this is how I did every single one of these valves. Stick it way back in here. And then I'm going to use the second finger and push it into the groove. Put some pressure on it, and then hopefully it sticks. I'm going to wind it out, and it's going to move all over the place. And I'm gonna try and not touch the keepers because they will immediately pop out. And doing all these, I got pretty good. The first like 3 or 4 were like the worst thing ever. It took me like an hour to not get them in. After like an hour and a half, I had 3 valves done, and then they've been all pretty much first try after that since. But yeah, both heads are together. The other one's hidden under towels over there, and basically we just gotta stick the buckets in this one. This cam lobe here, these 2 that I talked about were scuffed up a little bit. After some thinking, it should be okay as long as I want to polish these with 2500 grit, verify the size with a micrometer, and then I'll go ahead and run them. Since they're, you know, they're pressurized with oil when they run, it shouldn't cause an issue, especially because I'll probably tear this engine down in 50,000-60,000 miles to like fully build it. So that's that. I'm so glad to be done putting keepers in. While I put the heads together, might as well paint a couple small little parts. Shop Cat's helping us paint today. I love this color. Anybody else just notice I forgot to put something in the injector hole? Great. Such a good color. Look at that. Look at the metallic in that. So good. Okay, so what I'm about to do might be controversial for some, but as you're going to see in this close-up shot right here, there's a little bit of scuffing on the cam journals here and here. A little bit of scuffing on these cam journals. Just these two. These 2 are perfectly fine. I didn't notice that till after I hot tanked everything. Obviously, this one cam is a replacement for this one that I snapped, and it came out of a motor that was blown up. It apparently had some water in the oil, blew a head gasket. Guy's like, just needs a new head gasket, be fine. But as we all know, when it lets go, it's gonna shred the bearings too. So I'm gonna take 2500 grit, some oil, and polish that surface again. Having a little tiny groove in it where the oil feed hole is already shouldn't affect it very much. It should be minuscule. We'll see. If it blows up, my fault. But let's go ahead and do this. Get that nice and oiled up. And then just a nice little try to get it even all the way around so I'm not making the surface out around. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. Alright, let's do this one. This one might need a little extra compared to the others. Very nice. Nothing sticking up. There is a little groove. There's a lot of metal on it, as you can see. There's a little groove, but there's nothing sticking up that's going to scratch the head. So this head is put together. The head surface is cleaned up pretty decent. That head is for this side of the engine. So I'm going to go ahead and put the head studs in this side and plop that head on. Look at how fresh these look. Fresh shiny head gaskets for a fresh shiny engine and some fresh shiny head studs and a fresh shiny head. Now this next step is pretty important. I'm going to wipe down the block and the head with isopropyl alcohol. I should use like lacquer thinner, but what I have. But it'll make sure any of the oils from, you know, the engine or putting it together or my hands, any of that, it's all gone, and the head gasket has the best chance it can at sealing. Also, don't forget to use lintless towels. You know, you don't want a bunch of paper towel junk stuck up in your engine. Do it very gently, because if I push too hard, it'll just inject paper towel into all the holes. So even though it was cleaned, still gets that much extra stuff off. These are the good gaskets too. These are MLS head gaskets. Pretty much the best thing out there. I mean, it's not aftermarket MLS, but still an MLS no less. Ah, that rhymes. Alright, nice and springy, because that's annoying. Alright, now I'm very carefully going to stick the head on. I feel like this shouldn't be this difficult for me to do. There we go. Now I got to make sure head gasket flattens out. Alright, got to make sure the dowel pins line up. Make sure the MLS is, the head gasket's still flat. You don't want any wrinkles in that. That'd be bad. Alright, you can hear it seated. There it is. Of course it's unpainted, but I'll get it painted once everything's all closed up. Try this from the bottom this time. Oh, it's kind of tricky to get it down the stud straight. Oh, I see the head gasket doesn't even want to fit over the dowel pin. Take a socket that is very close to the size of this. Try to tap this down on. Okay, that worked. You can force stuff a little, but don't force it too hard, because that's how you break things. And everything here is expensive, and I don't want to break it. I can barely afford this build as it is. There we go. See, now it's popping right on. I think it was probably sucking up the edge of the head gasket and kind of acting like a locking agent. Little taps. It's seated on there. The head gasket looks like it did stretch out like it's supposed to. It's flat, no wrinkle. Alright, the nuts are on the head studs. I've got them threaded on a little bit. They're all lubed up. I'm going to torque this side and then I'll just do the other side off camera. This is the final torque, 85 foot-pounds. Alright, I'm going to go through and double check all those torques again, and then the heads are on. I haven't come out here and looked at it in a while, just looked at it, but damn, this is a good looking car. So to continue on, I think the last thing we're going to do to finish this thing up is put on the front cam bridges, or caps, whatever you want to call them. Get all these surfaces cleaned. Get all these surfaces cleaned and RTV them up properly. This part's the most nerve-wracking for me because I want to make sure nothing leaks. And we'll get the front cover on so it's actually ready to receive the lower oil pan, or actually, sorry, the upper oil pan. I'm always thinking about it upside down for when I'm building them. Okay, so I had the cam bearing bridges bolted on and all sealed up with RTV, and then I remembered I had to do the tensioners first. Got to give me some slack. I took this engine apart over a year ago, and then I realized the tensioners that I was sent are for the 350Zs. The tensioner for the Altima looks like this, and there's a big difference because the 350Z has one more oil hole. This only has the one, so I had to order those, and they'll be here in a week. So see you in a week. So we're starting here. I got the right tensioners in finally. We're going to go ahead and put those on, and then we're going to put the cam bridges on again. Alright, so cam bridges are on. It's starting to look like a VQ. Just gotta get this cleaned up. This is technically the back half of the front timing cover. Just gotta clean up all these surfaces, get them all free and of RTV and shiny. Get them all gooped up, popped on there. I also got to figure out where all of the bolts are for this. Okay, all these surfaces on this cover and the engine have both been wiped down twice with carb cleaner. Everything's nice and clean. I'm going to throw on some RTV and get it on the front of the engine. We're going to use this brass wire brush here and clean up all the heads of the bolts to make sure there's no debris left on them. So this is how they looked when we started, and this is what they look like now. Before and after. Well, I got a big mess to clean up now. I was just about to torque these. It's been about an hour, and that's when I remembered I didn't put these O-rings in. Of course, I thought I forgot something. So, looks like the last, I came out here at 8, it's 10. Last 2 hours were basically a waste other than polishing a couple bolts. So, great. So the excess RTV has wiped off both surfaces, but I gotta hurry before the stuff that's left does harden. And I got both O-rings in place. So, let's gotta get this done fast. Alright, crisis averted, I think. I guess we'll see when I start it if it leaks or not, or if I did it right. So let's let this sit an hour and a half and get to tightening, and I'll just start doing some little side stuff while I wait. The front cover is now all torqued down. I think I'm going to start with the oil gallery gasket upgrade. So the oil gallery gasket upgrade that I got from this Formance comes with the OEM O-rings and aftermarket gaskets, which are supposed to be better than the OEM, and the Phillips head bolts that normally hold it in, they're replaced with a hex head bolt so you can evenly torque all of them. So it's been a little bit since I've taken this engine apart, so I grabbed the water pump and I was looking for a gasket. I couldn't find one. I was like, well, I guess maybe they RTV it on, but then luckily I pulled the old one out of the parts bin and found out they actually seal it in this bore with O-rings, which is kind of trick. It's pretty clever. I'm going to put this on. I'll get the oil pump on. I'm going to go ahead and start putting the timing on. I'll put these on first, and then the main timing chain will go on shortly after that. Alright, now that these surfaces are clean, after that Scotch Brite-a-thon, I'm going to try to blow everything off in a way that stuff's not going to try to go into the heads, and then I'm going to give it a good soak down with carb cleaner to make sure I did get it all. Alright, so I was very focused on making sure that the timing was all set up correctly, so I didn't film putting the chain in place, but I did turn the motor over 2 rotations, nothing touched, and it didn't get hard to turn at any point, so that should mean it is timed properly. I guess all that's left now is to make sure the cam gear bolts are tight, and I can finalize a couple things and put the front cover on. So the front cover is clean and ready for RTV, so is the front of the engine. Intake cams are tightened to 78 foot-pounds, and exhaust are tightened to 92 foot-pounds. So we are ready to slap the front cover on. to stick this front cover on without getting RTV all over everything. While Cheyenne beats the crap out of a QR crank pulley trying to get it off. Wow, that popped right on. The little dowel pins just like sucked it right up. So guys, the VQ is timed. Front cover is on and curing. So is the water pump cover. I'll get those tightened a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and tuck this engine into bed. Ready to work on another day. We got a whole lot done today. I took it from a block and a set of heads. Got the rear front cover on. Got the timing in. Front cover on. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you ever build a VQ, that's quite a bit. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you in the next one, and I'll talk to you all later.